Let's boost your self esteem. Self esteem can be eroded when we're thinking, I'm not worthy unless somebody else thinks I am. I'm not lovable unless someone else loves me. I'm not good enough unless someone else thinks I'm good enough. And today we're going to be looking at the topic that so many of you asked to look at is difficult relationships. Sometimes if you've wondered, why am I in this relationship? Is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Did I allow someone to treat me this way? When you know you deserve so much. I want to explore these questions today and break free from the blame game. I don't want anyone to feel like should be blamed. We need to really build our self-esteem, to build our confidence, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. But also, we need to protect ourselves because it's risky right now to not understand how to protect yourself from toxic relationships. It's not just about understanding the signs, it's about healing the emotional wounds and trauma that keep you trapped in these patterns without you knowing. It's really not simply about recognizing your self worth and self esteem needs boosting, but realizing that when we need our self esteem and self worth boosting, we may be a target of toxic relationships. Some experts think that 1 in 6 people have narcissistic traits. So, what does that mean for you? It means that you will know someone that has narcissistic traits. And why is this important? Well, most narcissists, the reason why toxic relationships are toxic is because they don't take responsibility for anything. They always blame the other person for anything and everything, or blame something else for their situation. It's never about them. They never go inward to try and change. They don't look to actually get the support that they need. Now, I want to explain something else. Sometimes people think, oh, maybe it's because I'm an empath or I'm a codependent. I really want to split these two terms up and really look at this, because it's important for you to understand that so that you don't get into a toxic relationship. And most importantly, you don't blame yourself. Codependency isn't something that's like one size fits all. And empathy, empath, they're not defined terms. It's not like, you can look something up and you can see all the personality symptoms of being an empath or codependent. In fact, Dr. Tim Cermak in 1986 did try to include codependency as a personality or fixed disorder in the DSM, but it didn't make it, which honestly I think is a good thing because it's more about a deficiency of self love rather than a fixed disorder. It's about finding our worth within ourselves rather than through someone else. So codependency is finding your worth through somebody else. And I really want to look at what Cermak said so you can understand that and see that there are differences, and don't let somebody start blaming you for it being your fault for being in a relationship and not being able to get out, because that feeds into the belief that's normalized by the narcissist where everything is your fault. Even if you know even if they hurt somebody, it would be like, well, it's your fault, you were standing there, it's your fault. It's utterly ridiculous. It makes no sense. None of it makes any sense. But when someone is vehemently telling you this, sometimes we can believe it. And it's really, really important to build your self-esteem, but to protect yourself from people that do that. So, though, Cermak also said that codependents keep the relationships going because they're so enmeshed, and they need that person for their own self-esteem and self-worth, and they won't allow the person to have boundaries in the relationship, or they won't allow boundaries to be put in place. But worse still, the codependent will not get help. Also, we have to be honest here The narcissist or the toxic person won't want you to get help either. So is it a belief that's been planted by the narcissist or the toxic person, or is it that you're driving this as a codependent? That's something to look at as well. So, what I would like you to think about is, are you in any relationships? Remember, 1 in 6 people are toxic to some degree. That's what an expert has stated. Maybe it's time to let that go. Maybe it's time to create more space between you and that person, because you want to start looking at deriving more self worth, more self esteem from within yourself rather from others that are actually making you feel worse, okay, and keeping you in this cycle. So he also, Dr. Tim Cermak also stated that there are going to be, symptoms of things like trauma responses, and you'll get triggered um, every time you want to separate in that. Now, there are other things like anxious attachment styles that you need to be aware of. If you do have an anxious attachment style, then you probably do want to start healing yourself and going within so that you feel calmer in relationships, because otherwise you could be a target for difficult relationships. So again, we will look at what can you do to start healing or boosting your self-esteem. We're going to be looking at that. But the most important thing is we need to counterbalance some of these things that Dr. Tim Cermak is saying. We need to start looking at how do we regulate our body so that we don't need that, we don't get that anxiety. We need to look at how do we stop holding back emotions and, some of those trauma responses. We need to learn to regulate our emotions, which is also what he highlighted as a pattern of a codependent that needs to get self-worth from somebody else because they can't process and regulate their own emotions. So what we need to do is also look at, are you getting help for yourself? Because a codependent person doesn't seek help. They proactively do not get help because they don't want to get out of that dynamic, so they feel stuck. If you're trying to get help but you can't get help, or you still can't get unstuck, that could be something different. That could be a trauma bond and you're just not getting the right trauma therapy right now to help you release that. So you what I want to get across here from all the work that Dr. Tim Cermak has stated, there really is a silver lining. You can break free from being around people that are, bringing your self-esteem down, and then proactively build your self-esteem, because self-esteem, self-worth, self-love come from your relationship with yourself. So what does this mean? That means you're in control. You can do this. It can be done. And it's understanding that your worth isn't tied to somebody else's behavior. You can start healing. Ross Rosenberg suggested that we look at self-love deficiency rather than codependency. So if we can shift our focus on self-love and begin to heal and find our true worth, if you're feeling stuck, it's really, really important to go, it's really about time I focus on the relationship with myself. I need to learn to love myself, be kind to myself, accept who I am. Your journey to your self-worth starts with small steps, like giving yourself a high five in the mirror every morning. Mel Robbins talks about this, and it's a powerful tip to really boost your self-esteem. On every level, you cannot control another person in terms of what they say, what they think, what they feel. And also, our journey of really boosting our self-esteem, boosting our self-worth, and boosting our self-love is really about a spiritual journey, about getting back to the creator, to God, to the universe, to knowing who you truly are, to actually knowing your worth. It's immense. Ultimately, That is the primary purpose of your life. And there is absolutely no way you can find your worth through somebody else. So, what we need to do is hopefully see we can be much more. Now, one of the things is not blaming yourself for not for doing something wrong, but actually loving yourself regardless and trying to find the worth within yourself, no matter what's happened in the past. Rather than looking outside, go inward. It's really about needing a relationship with yourself to fill a deep hole that's inside of you. No one can provide that love that you need within you, and no one can fill that hole because you think someone else is going to fill that hole for you. Well, there's the problem. We're working on the wrong relationship. We need to work on the relationship we have with ourselves because the hole is inside of us and it's not going to get filled by another person. And that's the reason why when we feel like that, we can get into toxic or difficult relationships and we can attract the toxic partner and get stuck there for years because we're picking people that we think we can fix. Why? Because we don't know how to fix ourselves in terms of the emotional pain and going inward. Maybe it's just that you don't have the tools to be able to deal with that guilt, the shame, the trauma of what you've maybe done in the past, but now it's time to forgive. It's time to learn how to let go. And maybe you weren't taught how to emotionally self-regulate. And self-esteem can be increased when we're taking actions so that we like who we are. When you like who you are, you're actually forgiving yourself for the past mistakes, but not just doing it in your mind and saying it to yourself, but actually taking action to show that you've forgiven yourself, to actually take action to feel the emotions or get the tools to actually process the emotions, to learn how to feel better within yourself because you like yourself, because you know you matter. And it's not about fixing others, it's focusing on yourself because you know you matter. You know it's okay to feel better and to feel what you're feeling. It's okay to be where you are. You're worthy of love, you're worthy of healing and finding your true self. We can't let toxic relationships or other people's beliefs define you. And self-esteem is around building your own belief systems through the actions that you're taking towards yourself. Today, it's about changing your beliefs about yourself so that you feel worthy and happy within yourself. So, my action for you today, if you could, is to look in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. After you've brushed your teeth, because it's a habit, put your toothbrush down and look at your eyes in the mirror. Tell yourself, say your name out loud, say, I love you, I've got you, and give yourself a high five. And because you know what that means, it means you're giving yourself a pat on the back. It means you're saying, I've got you. You know what? You're good. It has so many meanings. Most sports teams that are super successful, there's been some research done in this, are super. One of the actions that they all take, they do more high fives, they do more pats on the backs, they do more well done's. Do that. Do that to yourself. Start today. Start today and try it for, a week, a month. Just see what happens in your life as you start boosting your self esteem. And the second thing I would like you to do is look at your relationships. Look at your relationships. Who do you need to create more space from? And how do you create space? By starting to learn how to create boundaries. The third thing, start learning to allow yourself to feel what you feel and processing your emotions, processing and regulate. Learn how to regulate your emotions and your body in terms of if you feel anxiety or stress, etc. Those things will boost your self-esteem no end. Because why? Why? because you know you've got yourself. You know that if something happens, you know how to regulate yourself. You're going to be fine. You know what to do. I know how to heal myself. I know I will heal. And from that, you get so much self-confidence and self-esteem. So, if any of this resonates with you, check out the resources in the description. Take action today to build your self love and confidence. You've got this. Thanks for watching. And remember to subscribe for more insights on healing and self love. Sending you so much love. Till next time.